It's better than listening to the rundown.
By the museum, we make the museum. Like, there'll be that room where it's like the prank caller's room where you can play sound and stuff like that. You know?
You push a button and an old classic prank call starts playing.
Wouldn't that be great?
Or you can make a prank call.
Right, that's right. Hello?
Got a recording of Felger on the other end.
Got WEI on speed dial.
Mom would do that. He'll be looking for work. He can pretend to be the host. Hey, and what's going on? We're next with Adam. How are you? That whole thing.
Rundown. We are here, the Valentine's Day edition. Although we're not feeling a lot of love. There's not a lot of love going on in the Miniverse right now. I'm not feeling a lot of love for Ziggy, obviously. And we'll get into that maybe later on. But we're here to talk about Hall of Fame ballots. We're back. We're back, bitches. And we're going to talk about trivia. And we're going to talk about all these things that dominated not only this week, but last week too. Ziggy, when it comes to the Hall of Fame ballot, listening to it on Monday, Wednesday, today, Carrabis had a shot at it. What are your thoughts on Carrabis and his preparation? I want to start there. Like his preparation going into the Hall of Fame talk. Can we start there at least?
So you mean his lack of preparation of
maybe a lack
of not even taking the time to go to the KMS Twitter page and watch the show clips of the shows you didn't watch, which would have filled him in on the Kevin from Bristol saga. There were two nicely clipped videos that I think Harrison probably did, giving a good summary of what happened there, but instead he had to waste our time asking about it. But other than that, and he did try to come off the top with a joke about having a blank ballot and having, what was it, ink under his fingernails, going for the BBWAA joke there. Yeah, it was kind of weak, but. So I guess he was ill prepared, but it didn't really surprise me.
Do you feel like you watched our show at all?
No, definitely not. I don't even know if Kirk did, which is fine. I mean, the production of the show, the output was the main reason we did the show. We were happy to be able to do that. We pissed a lot of people off. I don't think we'll piss as many people off tonight. We will see. But yeah, I think the ballot talk. I love the ballot talk. I think Kirk likes the ballot talk. Maybe he got a little sick of it at the end because of all the complaining, but. I think it's just good content. And Steve clearly doesn't care about it, or he doesn't even know like who Minifans are or what they are. So that's kind of funny, but I love it.
Do Sheldon, when you woke up this morning, did you, or maybe you heard it last night, depending on, I don't know if you ever sleep actually. Did you think that the Hall of Fame ballot was thrown away, done, dead, gone, never to be seen again? Our hard work just thrown out?
When I heard the beginning of the show, I'm like, yeah, he's done with the ballot. Like, it's no more. And then as he kept going on, he's like, no, I was mad. It's fine. So I was like, oh, well, okay. So the ballot's still going on. And then he said the only person he was going to vote for was Blob because he threatened to kill a bunch of people at the Wilbur.
Yeah, he's going to go Inglourious Bastards on everyone.
Yeah. But, I mean, he obviously didn't listen to the show. He just looked at the final ballot, which is fine. We gave him that content. And, I mean, he disagreed with some of them, and he thought some other people should be on, but he agreed that was the ballot, and then he only made one change to it, which after listening to the shows, we should have thought of Bob Murchison. I don't know why the hell he wasn't brought up. He obviously is the biggest Minifan in the world. I mean, how many of us talk to advertisers?
That's true. That's a good point. Oh yeah, Red's Kelleher nomination did, but other than that, yeah, not many.
Don't you? We're gonna say that for later on, asshole. Don't you do that? I have a lot of things that I'm mad about. Here's what I'm sad about. As a Ryan Minahan fan, he is the best Minahan brother out there. It's a bad day for me, for the rest of the Ryan fans. For him to be such a fan of Drunk Greg Hill, baby. It's terrible. I can't have this. So I don't know if I can still be a fan of Ryan after this. I question his judgment, and I thought for sure it was going to be Adam would be the one who was a fan of Drunk Greg Hill. I knew Carrabis would because Carrabis has a tiny brain with his tiny hands. This really hurt me, guys. And so I've never been wrong. I'm still not wrong, but I'm hurting right now.
I mean, we don't. I'll give you this, Red. We don't know that Adam also wouldn't have voted for him. We just know that Ryan wanted to vote for him.
I mean,
so you could still be right.
How is Ryan? Ryan is just not going to vote for the Hall of Fame because he just can't vote on Drunk Greg Hill. I can't stand the calls. I'm sorry. Greg Hill, I'm sorry, man. You call like every single time, and I get it. I get the shtick. And it was actually kind of funny with the Springsteen thing, but he had so many different things he could have done with Springsteen that even then it wasn't as funny as it could have been. So
it is tough. We had the impossible task to fill out 20 names. I think we've all said like he's not our favorite caller, the three of us, but a lot of people obviously like him, including Kirk, which he said that he said what on today's show he would have put him on. So it was kind of like, all right, do we try to get into the minds of the voters and who they want? But we know that the voters aren't informed. Like that's why we were given the task, because as Kirk said, like we listen to the show, we get the show. So there was no winning really. I guess Drunk Greg Hill lost because he didn't really cross my mind. I don't know if he didn't cross your mind. I don't even think we up last Saturday to debate him.
This wasn't a list of callers to the show, Hall of Fame callers. I mean, it was overall, he literally, the only thing we know about him is he calls into the show every fucking time and pretends to be shit-faced as Greg Hill.
That's about it, yeah.
So, I mean, you can make up that shtick as you go, but like to compare him to Sopranos guy, the guy does it from fucking memory.
Yeah.
And like his last call where he called in and worked Mike and Kirk into the goddamn scenes. I mean, it's hard to replicate that. So
he was on the spot. He was coming for Steve. Like he was not aware that Steve was anti-Sopranos guy until Kirk told him, right? So then he just totally hits him with a couple of those lines. Like he was coming in with the Chrissy lines anyway. It was awesome. I love that.
I liked how the reason Steve, like one of the first reasons Steve gave why he didn't want him on the ballot or wouldn't vote for him is because he asked Kirk, he's like, oh, even though because he broke character that one time, as if that's like a disqualifier from the Hall of Fame. As if you break character, you can't be in. Like that's in the bylaws.
If I remember correctly, he broke character to tell them that to tell them that it was bullshit that he doesn't record this, that it was all live.
Right.
So that should disqualify him. What a fucking idiot.
I mean, Steve's ballot would have been Blind Mike Scroopy, Governed by Fear, and someone else bad. Oh, the prank caller who reads off lists every time they call.
Okay. Bullshit. He does not understand that guy. He's a fucking legend. I don't care what you guys say.
I don't understand how Governed by Fear even came up. I don't know how he got into Steve's brain. I mean, we mentioned him as somebody who doesn't.
He's a private thread guy.
Really? Well, yeah, he doesn't tweet about the show anymore. So we were just saying.
He hasn't tweeted since November.
R.I.P. I mean, he did have a great YouTube show. Don't get me wrong. That YouTube show was incredible. But nobody's talking. He's not on the ballot, Steve. So Steve didn't even read the fucking ballot. I know he's checked out, but he couldn't even be bothered to do that.
So speaking of the ballot,
fucking worst.
What'd you say, Sheldon?
What YouTube show did he have? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
He was going to do like what was it? A conspiracy show, kind of like Channel Zero, but for Minifans, and they talked it up, but it just never happened.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like guaranteed, it was going to be a really good one. You know? So it was like, oh yeah, it's Governed by Fear. I like those guys. That's going to be really good. It's like, and Mike was like, how do you even know it's going to be good? You've never done anything. It's perfect.
Speaking of the actual ballot, I like how like we had the conversation after the show dropped. Oh, should we wait to release it or try and get the views up, pump up the views, and have people find out on their own? Instead, Justin just took a screen grab of the YouTube video instead of asking me for it. And then when he changed it to Bob Murchison, he just like cut and pasted in a different font, Bob Murchison, total Mickey Mouse operation. But that's what you got when you.
Justin's crossed you. He's crossed Sheldon earlier today. That lib Sheldon, he said. It's unbelievable.
Fucking guy doesn't even know what direction to walk to fucking get home. He's calling me a lib. Unbelievable.
I did like Mike's contributions to the Hall of Fame stuff. I mean, you asked me about Jared up top. Obviously, Jared, he tries to be involved, but Mike's like recall ability with Minifans is really good, and I think it kind of highlighted why he's good on the show, in my opinion, where it's bringing back show references and callbacks, and even like when Kirk said, if anyone voted for John from Scranton, he would both quit and kill himself. And Mike said, like, are you worried both your brothers are going to vote for you now? Like little things like that, where I think if it were, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm glad that they went over the ballot when Mike was there instead of just being Kirk or Steve or just Kirk, Jared, and Steve. You had the guys that knew the ballot, that knew the Minifans to react to it.
No, he's back in the swing of things like it was before he left. So, I mean, I can't deny he's been good on the show the last couple of times, but I still don't want to hear about his fucking Bitcoin and shit. That's Steve. So I'm not gonna take that back.
So with Mike though, it's like it is so much better than what you're getting with Carrabis, just because he has all that inside Miniverse stock. Even though like when back in the day, that was a struggle for Mike. Like there was a little bit of where he was kind of probably struggling and checked out on the Miniverse. Like he's much better with it now. And so that helps because Kirk is so good with it and Steve doesn't really know what's going on. So when Carrabis comes in, at least Kirk can kind of fill him in on those things. But Mike is so much better off, and Monday's show was great. It's been a really solid week of shows, especially the Kirk and Steve show on Wednesday. I thought was one of the better ones, which we'll get into with the trivia talk. But overall, the Hall of Fame ballot stuff just dominated the week, and I loved every second of it. I know there's some of the cunts who are my friends on Twitter. They're not a fan of Hall of Fame ballot talk all the time. I don't give a shit, man. Like it's all the way inside. It's everything that I want. It's too funny for me to listen to be able to be a part of that process and then hear the people talk about it on the show with the seriousness it deserves. It was very serious. So I loved all of it.
Yeah. And even like today, well, I guess last night's recording, like he said off the bat, like I'm in a mood. And then I think this was the first time he's been in a mood when Jared was in, because Jared started like stepping on what he was saying, and he just like, get out of the way. Like I'm in a mood, just get out of the way. But he was mad about the whole Dale Williams stuff and the GVE and all that. But he was still playful. Like it's kind of a weird thing to joke about and say you're playful about shooting up the Wilbur, but like that's a joke. Instead of going in the past when he's gotten mad at the Minifans or mad with the Minifans, he's been more serious. So he said something about like, all right, I need to take a breath or two about this and kind of calm himself down. And I think he was able to step away from the situation and not go like all in as he's done in the past, but it was still good content. It was still funny. And yeah, like you said, it's just the Hall of Fame stuff. It's like anytime you have a list and you're ranking things, especially when there's people going to be on or off the list, like that's going to be good stuff.
So we almost our ballot almost made it a full week without getting totally ripped up and torn to pieces. Sheldon, does the ballot make it another week? I mean, how the hell is it going to make it to May? I don't understand. And these Hall of Fame, like Steve from Providence is fucking up so much on Twitter. He's lighting himself on fire, trying to get himself off of this ballot. It feels like there's no way this thing makes it to May, right? When they have to vote, there's no way.
It's not going to make it to May. There's no goddamn way. And if like Kirk doesn't hire someone to murder Steve by the time May comes around, I'll be surprised because he just doesn't know when to keep his fucking mouth shut.
Wait, which Steve?
Oh, both of them.
Okay.
They're both going to die. Steve Robinson and Steve from Providence.
Steve from Providence he's purposely doing this.
Yeah, I think Kirk sees right through it. Like Steve can't be happy when everything's hunky dory for himself. He needs to light himself on fire. He likes the chaos, and he doesn't like that there's no controversy about him being on the ballot.
By the time this is over, the only one left is going to be Tim from Canton.
He's the only nice guy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not going to make it till May, and probably by the time May comes around, he's going to tell all three of us to go fuck ourselves and to stop listening, unsubscribe. I mean, that's coming. You know that.
Or we'll be the lone survivors. We will be the only ones that weren't on the ballot because none of us put ourselves on the ballot. So everyone will be thrown off the ballot.
Two of us didn't put us on the ballot. One of them did.
Yeah.
Hey, what did Kirk say? His dad always said, if you don't ask, the answer is no, or something like that.
Oh, he said, well, you don't want to use bleach, so don't use fucking bleach. And then
you can always ask. The worst thing to say is no.
They can always say no. Yeah. So that was my thinking. They can always say no.
Yeah. Even then, you're trying to channel your inner Peter Minahan as you're calling in as Peter too.
Is that me?
All right. Anything else on the Hall of Fame ballot?
Oh, the best was the caller that called in to bitch about the Hall of Fame talk, and he wanted him to talk more Bob Hart's Abishola and call random hospital rooms. You fucking idiot. That's what you called in for? To complain about that, and you wanted those two things? Well, first of all, you never call in and tell Kirk, well, I don't like this, so you should stop doing it. don't bring it up, you fucking idiot, because then he's just going to do it more just to piss you off. He doesn't care if there's hundreds of thousands of other listeners or whatever. He just wants to piss that one guy off. And really, Hall of Fame talk is worse than Bob Hart's Abishola? I mean, seriously.
I don't know if that guy had that off the top of his head or if it was like Mayo when he called and Kirk asked for who should like go on, and he said Fred Toucher. Like, it was one of those terrible examples coming off the dome. Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully that guy didn't go in thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get him with the Bob Hart's Abishola counterpoint." The other, I do have one more thought, unless you do, Red.
No, go.
Well, Kirk talked about like the secret surprise person on his ballot that might be out of the box. Do you have any guesses on that?
I always just assumed it would have been the Warden, is what I assumed, or Gig. I thought it would be one of those two.
I think he specifically said not Gig, because I think Mike threw out like Ted, Will, or Gig, and he said no to all those. Yeah, I thought Warden or maybe Steve's a liar guy or Trump. Someone that's I would lean Steve's a liar guy, if not for the recent retirement, which is clearly a retirement now because he hasn't submitted the song in the last 2 weeks. So right against Ziggy there.
No. It's not a real retirement.
Well, we haven't heard it. But either way, so I think that would be because he's contributed since the beginning of the show, and I think that's important to Kirk.
We're not going to move off of this fact. Okay? Whatever you're trying to do here. Steve's a liar guy has not presented a song for 2 weeks.
Yep.
How long has it been since Matt Carano presented a song? How long has it been?
A long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. But he also but he didn't write a retirement letter.
Obviously,
either way, I think we can say this.
Parody retirement letter? That was not real.
Clearly parody. Clearly.
I think we should come to I think we should come to an agreement that I am right on this until he writes another song, and then I'll say that you guys were right.
No.
I think that's only fair. That's only fair.
That's right.
I think otherwise, you just need to keep on rocking. I'll find out what the
keep on what
rocking
it. What are you talking about? That's your advice?
No,
rocking it.
Yeah, I mean, just.
I know what it means, but that's your advice to us as a team, other than the mute, is to keep on rocking it.
Well, I don't know
okay.
This team.
Thank you for that advice.
The B block, the trivia talk for this week in particular. There's a lot of trivia talk now every week, and it's a good way to interact with Barstool. We had Casey Smith on the show on Wednesday, which led to one of the better Kirk and Steve shows. But Ziggy, I'm going to put you on the spot. In particular, are you a fan of Casey Smith? I know I am, but I'm curious if you guys are fans of Casey Smith.
I'm not a huge fan of hers. I think she's a little fake in a lot of ways. However, I do think her call was pretty good. She kept up with Kirk. She had a couple good jabs back and forth. So I think the call was fine. But yeah, to answer your question, I know what you're getting at. I said that in the DM. I wasn't a fan of her before hearing her on the show, but I thought she was actually pretty good on the show in her call.
I think we told you that beforehand. So right again, Redmond, is that what we're saying?
No. I still think she's fake, but I think she held her own.
Yeah, but when you stack her up, I mean, Sheldon, you can back me up on this. When you stack her up against a Courtney Fallon or somebody else, it's kind of like I'll talk about comedians for Blind Mike. So hopefully he's tuning in. Like, how rare is it to find a good female comedian out there? They're very few. So when you're good, you kind of, stand above the rest. I feel like that's what Casey Smith is doing. Like, she's not somebody like DEC who said she could host Good Morning America. But she's very good at what she does. I feel like she's a quality.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know college football. I'm sure she knows her college football. I just think her persona of like being one of the guys is a little played up. But comparing her to Courtney Fallon, that's the low bigotry of the bigotry of low expectations.
The low expectations.
No, see, Courtney Fallon.
I don't know. Yes,
she couldn't work at WEEI, and then she proceeded to get a podcast where she has terrible gambling advice. She's nothing compared to Casey Smith. She is fake because she doesn't know a fucking thing about anything. And Casey Smith actually knows stuff, and she is one of the guys. I'm sorry that you're more of a Liz guy, Ziggy, but you are wrong. Totally wrong. I
I'm
mean,
the Liz guy.
she might cheat at trivia. Big deal. Jared wants to do it. Steve wants to do it. Who cares?
Yeah, her excuse that she had told them, like, oh, I told them beforehand that I was watching the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah,
that's not an
football.
excuse. That's just giving yourself an alibi that you have your phone right there.
She's into football, Ziggy.
That doesn't prove that you didn't actually use your phone. It just gave you an alibi up front why you had your phone.
But
she was using that as like the hammer in the argument.
Did you see the video, Ziggy?
It's definitely, she's definitely like looking, you can't see my eyes. She's definitely looking down. The Cons one's worse because he has his laptop on his knees and he's clearly typing and it's like moving the thing. And Cons is so sensitive. Justin tagged him on Wednesday, like for his wrap-up show tweet, and he tagged him and I responded something about like, or he responded like, that's false, that I'm a liar. And I went back and forth with him a couple times. It was like so easy to get him worked up. Like he's very clearly sensitive, protesting way too much.
Huge Ben Albright fan, I hear.
that was a good line by Steve.
If they end up losing in that round, he is going to get trolled hard by the Minifans. I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it. He's probably going to go on a blocking spree like Brandon Walker, I'm sure, because
he's such a pussy.
It's not going to be good. No, it's not going to be good. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope they can pull it together. I found it interesting that Steve was so quick to quit on this team and Kirk let him get out of it. And then somehow Jared Carrabis convinces Steve to come back in. Ziggy, we almost were Steve free. We almost got Kirk Minahan away from Steve for an episode of something. And then Carrabis ruined it all for us. Your thoughts as you were listening to that?
I mean, it's not a surprise. He's been wanting to get out of trivia since it started. Like since the beginning, he's thrown out, I never said I was good. And then he would use that as an excuse, even though Carrabis also said he never said he was good. And every time, like after both of the matches, Steve came back with reasons why the questions were unfair. Like he's talking about the jersey question for KB or KB getting the geography question, even though they've talked like ad nauseum about how each person gets a question specific to their strengths.
Yep.
So yeah, I think he knows. I think it was Copper Doodle that called and said that Steve he created a character, right, to get away from the lowbrow main friends that he had. He created this character as an intellectual, but now the walls are crumbling in on Steve. Like the house of cards is falling apart. There's nowhere to hide when you're in trivia. That is a truest test of intelligence. And he has gotten nothing right. He thinks Old Hickory is Van Buren and he thinks Reagan invaded the DR. Like he knows nothing about American history, which he says is probably his best category other than Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm not surprised he tried to quit because he clearly knows that it's just embarrassing himself for the fraud that he is as an intellectual.
A part of this is on Kirk. He's going to own this too, because when they're on the show, and callers such as myself or others call in to put Steve on the spot to coach him up, to teach him a little bit, to help him out. Kirk bails him out all the time on these questions. He's trying to be a good teammate, but he's hurting Steve in the long run because Steve's not learning these lessons, Sheldon. It's disappointing. I hate to see it.
First of all, I don't want to go on until Ziggy tells the rest of Copper Doodle's call. Seems kind of
hard R word in there.
Not going there.
Okay, fine. But I also heard today on a very reputable YouTube show that it's hard to think of the stuff that you know in trivia. You have to learn that. So he might know the answer, but that's a skill you learn that if you know it, you have to learn how to.
You got to bone up. You got to bone up on that skill.
I'm not going to keep coming here and defending gym teachers. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to make me do this, Sheldon.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
I won't do that.
He's just not as smart as he thinks he is. It's fine. I mean, people can love him, think he's a good producer, whatever, but he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is.
But he absolutely tries to portray himself as this genius. And
absolutely. And the first fucking chance that he gets there where he can quit, he fucking quits and runs away for Justin. The guy was walking the wrong fucking way home from the VFW, for God's sakes. I mean, holy shit. And then he quits, and then Jared's like, well, no, I kind of want him. And then he fucking turtles and comes back. I mean, what the fuck are we doing?
Almost free.
Yeah, I was pissed that Jared kind of made that switch. If anything, now Jared should be replaced by Justin because Jared brings no more than Steve does. Justin brings a legitimate like strategic aspect because he's done the research and he's watched. He knows a little bit more about the trivia format and what it takes to win or to get the extra advantage.
To watch the dozen all day. Yeah, he did the fucking research. What else do we have to do? Jesus Christ.
He's cleaning his basement. Sheldon probably cleaning out his basement. Okay, so he's
cool.
He's a guy. He's busy. I don't understand though. So Ziggy, you're probably the closest in age, possibly to Steve and Jared. I have no idea, right? But
yeah,
these
Sheldon
guys
and I are around the middle.
They have no idea any like recent events at all. Like how could they both be so brainless when it comes to 2000s music or even baseball? Like you're a baseball guy. How is Carrabis so dumb on some of these baseball questions?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to now that they have the excuse doesn't sprain, like they're going to use that nonstop. I mean, I've always thought Carrabis is kind of a hardo with his baseball knowledge, and he really just drafts off a certain part of like Red Sox Twitter that they tweet first, he gets their tweets, he kind of passes them off as his own. So that's always kind of been a thing with him, is he portrays himself as brighter with his baseball knowledge than he is. Like he did not know who Roy Hobbs was. He had to wait for Kirk to give him that answer today. Yeah, either way, I think Justin is going to be better because he at least has that some of the pop culture, any video game stuff, any sci-fi movie stuff, we'll say. I don't know. I think it's a mistake to leave Justin on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
Well, he's still on the sidelines, so we don't have to worry about it.
Well, is it at the point where we root against him in the next match so that Justin can replace Steve?
No,
or
we root for Kirk to get all the answers again.
That's
so we
true.
Can shit on Steve and Carrabis because
it's a win-win. It's a win-win either way. It's a win-win either way.
It is
a flawed team, but at the end of the day, he is good. You know, Kirk is going against forget about the other two. Kirk is going against Casey Smith, John Feidelberg, and Captain Cons. Those three, I don't care that they're undefeated right now. Those three, I've listened to them on other shows. They are not smart people. They're just not. They can't be. So I don't see how Kirk can lose to those three, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I did like how, I think it was Wednesday, near the end of the show, Kirk asked, like, do you have anything else? And Steve brings up some New York Times communist China story, and then Kirk immediately like pivots right back to trivia because it's like way more fun to talk about. It's really good content. The last 2 weeks have been dominated by the Hall of Fame ballot and the trivia. And what's nice about the trivia is it's just gonna, if they keep doing it, it's just gonna keep creating content, get more Barstool people involved, like getting Frank on. He wasn't the best call-in. They're not really on the same wavelengths. I don't know if anyone's on the same wavelength as Frank the Tank. But it's still fun to have Kirk kind of interacting with other Barstool people.
I like how they cut out the segment where Kirk called him, and then we all know what it was, and then KFC mentioned it on the Barstool rundown, what he said anyway. Yeah, oh yeah, he totally did.
Oh, that's funny.
He's like, well, Frank's a dick. He's like, I don't blame him. I'm just like,
well, Frank, the best part about Frank though is when he calls in, he's giving the one-word answers, and he's not doing anything other than just the one word or two word, and you can just feel Kirk enjoying that, and just you can feel him looking at Steve and just thinking, God, this is so bad right now, and then Kirk, it was an awesome interview. I loved every part of it.
The most excited he was during that interview is when they could talk about hot dogs and Pepsi. I mean, otherwise he didn't give a shit.
It kind of reminded me of the interview with the Lego Barstool kid, where it's like, okay, you're gonna come on to talk about something specific. Okay, we've run out of stuff to talk about after 3 minutes. I'm just gonna ask you those random questions and kind of treat you like a little kid. And there's a couple times Kirk like cracked the smile and had to laugh because of like Frank's one word answers and not realizing he was on a podcast.
And then he was, like I said, he just like, oh, hot dogs. Yeah, they sent me some. They were pretty good. And it's just like, oh my God, what the fuck?
So when he says and Kirk says he also does. And then like Frank doesn't pick up on that at all. Like Frank has no idea what Kirk is doing there. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Loved it. Anything else with the trivia talk, boys?
I got to give Mike credit when Kirk was talking about like initially not wanting Justin because he didn't want to bring in Justin being with Dwayne Wade. And Mike said like, hopefully he's like the Kobe to your Shaq.
Yeah, that was actually, I got to give Mike credit. That was a very good line.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Never mind. I ain't gonna say it. No, continue. Go on.
Thanks to Bob Holler for joining us. We had Bob on
Great
today.
guest. Yeah.
And you know what? We're going to read about it in the Globe tomorrow. Flood came. Took him out.
Gone.
No longer
Yep.
with us.
That'd be amazing.
Floating face
That would be
down in his
unbelievable.
basement.
That'd be unbelievable if he died in the flood.
Barstool Sports laughs at the late Bob Holler.
Would Bob Holler be alive? That phone call didn't come to you.
Boston
Perhaps.
sports legend Bob Holler. Linda Marks singing at his funeral.
Holler. Dog shit.
Tommy Harper gives his
Tommy
eulogy.
Harper.
Holler works in that song too. We all need Holler.
Holler. That would work, actually. We should get Linda to do that.
Nothing on him besides Raw Dog.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So do I, by the way.
All right. So random notes, everything from the last 2 weeks. Try to collect as many as we can, share them with each other. The first one that I have is for you, Ziggy. I know, Sheldon, you probably have something on this too. I'm just going to quote Steve Robinson accurately from today. When talking about a DM from Ziggy Robinson, Steve said, it might have missed my email or gone in my spam filter, when he was talking about emails from potential parody songwriters. Ziggy, did you smell that Steve Robinson lie coming a mile away? Because that sounded like a fucking lie right there.
I mean, he's definitely given it before.
Yes, he has.
I mean, I understand emails get quote unquote lost in the sense that you lose track of them in your mind. You forget about them. That's the sign of someone that's on top of things, is when they either set up reminders, they organize their email, or they create maybe, I don't know, a separate email for just parody songs for people to send them to. So a little backup, Rock Opera, who did the Copacabana Carrabis song, which was really good. It was a hit. Everyone liked it on the show. I found out, I'll just put it this way. I found out he sent Steve 2 songs last week. I heard them. One of them was definitely worth being played on the show. And he said they were sent to Steve last Wednesday. Coincidentally, one of the songs was called Steve's Checked Out. So I don't know, was this a subconscious bias from Steve to not play this? Or did he know that it was just going to bury him and he didn't play it? Or is he just really lazy and totally checked out, like the song said? But either way, that's why I had to give Kirk, it had been a week, I had to give Kirk the heads up. There's some songs out there that have been sent in and have been lost.
So how often, and we'll talk about this again in the after show too, I'm sure, about somebody, but how often are you DMing members of the Kirk Minahan show? I feel like that comes up.
Only when I think I have information that could be helpful to the show's content and that they might not know about. So I knew that no one knew about this other than Steve, who was emailed about it. And I'm not going to DM Steve about it. So,
that spam filter, man, I hate it when that happens with emails. I hate that. Sheldon, you got anything on that, or just Steve Robinson in general, or do you want to go on to a random note? That's totally fine. The floor is yours.
Yeah, he seems to. He must get like 100,000 emails a day, because a lot of them get lost, and including like songs or prank calls, whatever. And he's just like, oh, I must have missed that. Almost like he can't put a fucking number in his cell phone, even though he's called it a million times. Oh, I don't have that number anymore. And then
it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to it.
Today, Kirk brings up the Jeff D. Lowe thing, and he said, did you just delete that number? And Steve said, no, I didn't delete it. I just don't have it. Well, Steve, you don't have it because you didn't save it.
Right.
Like, why do you even have to argue that point, Steve? Why is that even an argument?
Just scroll up in your text from Kirk, or go to your recent calls and see you've called him before.
Right.
Look for a New York number. It doesn't. He just throws that out there like, oh, I don't have it. But okay, so do a little work and try to find it.
Well, I mean, he's really popular, so I'm sure that recent call was already gone because he's had, so many recent calls that it worked its way out of the list. Because obviously he's a fucking treat to hang out with.
It's kind of like after our last rundown episode where Sheldon had the rant about Mike, and Kirk brought it up on the show, And Steve obviously didn't see the Warden tweet, which was retweeted by like 15 people. I guess it didn't make it onto his timeline or what. And Steve asked Kirk, like, oh, how far into it exactly is it? And Kirk's like, how the hell would I know? It's an hour-long show. How's he going to know?
He's the best in the business. He is a fucking idiot. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Sheldon, you got another random note for us then?
The random note was this last Wednesday show, it was almost like back to normal. I mean, the show was almost like a year ago when it was like can't miss. I mean, when they were in South Carolina, those shows were whatever on the road. But the Kirk and Steve show on this last Wednesday, I mean, it was almost like the original show. I mean, back and forth, and he was shitting on Steve without Mike or anything. And it was a nice flow and it was a nice pace. And I mean, I loved this week's of shows and I loved last week's of shows. And I think it's been Kirk's enjoying himself again with the Minifans, even though he fucking hates us. I mean, it's been just a good 2 weeks. So that's just my random note that there was not a bad show out of these last 6. So
yeah, it was interesting on that. I agree that Wednesday show was really good. Even though it's just with Steve, they did call like 6 different people. Like I think they first started off calling Mike, like the very beginning of the show. Kirk was like, can you call Mike? Because I thought for some reason, I thought he was going to be on today. And he was calling him just to tell him like a dad joke that he thought of in the car.
Yeah.
So that was interesting that Mike was on the brain. And Mike was in the previous Friday instead of Jared,
right?
Which I guess is really instead of like maybe Quantum Week Chris or Steve from Canton or Steve from Providence, Tim and Canton. Because they said like names were thrown around, but they settled on Mike. So that's just interesting that he's getting more play. And that wasn't really your point, Sheldon, because you liked the Steve episode, but I just wanted to point out Mike is on the brain of Kirk.
He is, even with the dad joke like Thai food, which I don't know where that ranks in your dad jokes. That's a pretty damn good dad joke right there too. So
no, I mean, it's getting back to where, I mean, obviously Steve doesn't fucking prepare because there's nothing besides, Lincoln Project stories and shit like that. So, right. I mean, you forget that, they may have called a bunch of people, but it's almost like when we had Cullinane in there and he's like, well, just dial a random number. And then Cully couldn't figure out how to fucking dial a random phone number.
Right.
And he's like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. Dial a fucking number. So, I mean, it's just like he can call whoever he wants or just random shit. I mean, you just know he's enjoying himself and it fucking shows in the shows. When he was really mad and wasn't enjoying it, I mean, it showed. And now it's like back to the old show again. So
yeah, I noticed that too, like on, when you're listening to it and you're scrolling through on Twitter and you see like the same guys complaining about the Wednesday show, which full transparency, the Kirk and Steve show has not been a good show. And we've talked about that in the past. This was one where it was kind of like the Contrarians are kind of forcing it in there a little bit, where it was like this show was actually, from what I could tell from my opinion and others, like it was a pretty good show. And I don't know, it feels like they're kind of shoehorning that in there where it's like every Wednesday they're just going to shit on the show. Like that's just how it's going to go. But this one didn't feel like that. And the last 2 weeks have been very good too.
No, I'll give Steve credit. He was not completely terrible on Wednesday.
He wasn't utterly useless. That's true.
And you got to give him credit. 2 Wednesdays ago, he made sure that the listeners were totally up to date on the Newsmax My Pillow Guy saga.
Yeah.
So he ended the Wednesday show with it, and then he started that Friday show, which I think they recorded later that night, with a follow up to the story, which no one cares about.
Yeah, nobody.
So that was
nobody
good.
wanted
I'm glad he kept us in the loop there.
Ziggy, do you have another random note in there for us?
Yeah, I'll pivot off of Steve and then we'll come back to him because
we'll always come back to Steve.
Kirk brought up Yellowstone, which is a great show. I stand by that.
Thank you.
Some of his
we
points.
Need to talk about this.
Some of his points were valid about the show, but I think Carrabis nailed it today by asking Kirk, "Do you ever enjoy anything that you watch?"
No.
Kirk said no. So that I think Kirk wanted to like that show. I think he liked that show, but he didn't want to say he liked that show because there were people in his life, his brother, myself, that told him it was a good show off the bat, and then he didn't want to give us credit for saying that.
Now, Oh, we're not going to move off of this right here, okay? Because I had to take my L early on with Ryan Minahan and drunk Greg Hill. So, Ziggy, Yellowstone is a show for stupid people. Kirk's on record of that. Does it hurt at all that Adam Minahan and you have the same taste in shows? Is that
No?
how do you feel
Not
about
really.
that at all?
No, I'm sure Adam likes a lot of good shows that I also like too. So that kind of that doesn't hurt. I think what should hurt is Steve saying, "Oh, I watched one episode and it gave off Longmire vibes," which is a terrible show.
No, it is not a
terrible
show. Fuck off. That is bullshit. How do you feel being on Steve's side, Ziggy? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were
I'm not on Steve's side on this.
Oh, bullshit. You all fuck off. I'm not doing this.
That show is like a Hallmark movie compared to Yellowstone. It's not even close. It's not even close.
I'm sorry you can't appreciate good acting and a good storyline. Probably too much going on at once. You can't understand it. Sorry.
Just Ziggy Robinson and Adam Minahan and Steve Robinson all just watching the same shows, enjoying the same stuff. It's unbelievable.
I knew the Longmire dick would get shown.
Yeah, that really got him right there. You can call him a lib all you want. You come for Longmire, and Sheldon is going to be fucking pissed.
Fucking lib.
Steve also he brought it multiple times in One Night in Miami. And his description of it was written as a play, but it was really interesting. Culturally salient, good acting. So 2 thumbs up from Steve for One Night in Miami. So good that he had to bring it up twice. I'm sure it's terrible, but yeah, that made me laugh. Culturally salient.
Cool. Oh, Jesus Christ. But then again, he's not pretending to be, smarter than, better than. That's not who Steve Robinson is.
No, that's fair. No.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Any other random notes that you guys have? I'm sorry, I don't have many random notes. I have a lot of hate for a lot of people.
I'll put the team on my back here if you want.
Please.
I got a random note.
Go for it, Sheldon.
Today, when Kirk said today he would rather dig up his dead mother and fuck her in the ass than listen to Steve Peralt and Rob Bradford. I mean, holy shit. I mean, I know you hate those two. That's just a very graphic thing to think of.
Oh, that reminds me. Ziggy, you're a big fan of Rob Bradford too.
Loves him.
How did you feel about that as well?
I can appreciate Kirk making fun of people. I'll put it as that. Yeah, I like Rob's Red Sox coverage, but I also know he's like a huge doofus and deserves to be made fun of. And
he was invited to your wedding.
No, false. He is the worst editor I've ever seen.
His writing is so bad.
You mentioned Steve Peralt, who's like, it always makes me laugh when Kirk like absolutely goes full bore on someone so random like that. But I think my favorite like recurring bit is when he goes in on Warthog's girlfriend, because there's like no logic to why he hates her.
God,
but he can't like not just be disgusted by her existence. Like I think he said that they're talking about the ballot and someone threw out like, oh, what about Warthog's girlfriend? And he said the ballot would disintegrate if she were on it. And then it was like, he couldn't help himself. Like he wanted to say, like he wanted to be nice. So he kept going back and forth like, oh, she's a nice person. I like her, but she spreads misery everywhere she goes. But I do like her. But he couldn't not end on the joke. So he's like, but she's a wretched human being. He like couldn't get out of that loop of nice thing, terrible thing.
That poor woman. It's a poor woman. Go back to Alba's feet at least. Give her a break, please.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Sheldon, you got another random note over there?
No, that's all I have.
That's it. All right, Ziggy, put us on your back, buddy. What else you got?
We had a couple times that in Red, you tweeted about a couple of these pretty early on where Steve just like totally missed the joke, or missed the moment. So one, when Kirk was talking about Turtle Boy taking a mental leave or mental time, and he was trying to make the joke that that Kirk took mental time because he worked with Jerry, and Turtle Boy took mental time because he worked with Jerry. And Steve just could not pick up what he was putting down. And Kirk kind of had to hold his hand through that.
So when you guys heard that for the first time, like you could definitely tell where Kirk was going with that. Like there's definitely a Jerry Callahan connection.
It's like over the top explaining things about Jerry. Like what else what other shows does he do? In the morning shows, maybe.
And he's so fixated on this fucking live stream that he does.
Well, he does a live stream. Yeah,
He
what other
does a
show?
live stream.
Yeah.
Why
but
would Kirk want to talk about that?
he does a
Steve,
live stream?
it's so obvious what he's trying to get to. How do you not get there, buddy? Unbelievable.
Yeah. And then he did that with I think it was Wednesday when we're talking about like blackballing. So, or Steve said he's blackballed, and Kirk's like, "Oh, why would you say that? Why is it blackballed?" And Steve like just did not get the joke that he was going for.
Oh, he's white ball. What's wrong with his bet? It's good to be whatever. Yeah. White
And then
being that thing.
when they were talking about like Chris Farley hypotheticals, like, oh, I wonder what Chris Farley's career would be like if he were still alive. And Steve couldn't get off the fact that if he were still alive today, he would still be addicted to heroin. He still would be dead. Like, he can't figure out it's a hypothetical for the purpose of talking on a podcast. That interesting conversation. Yeah.
Do not throw Steve a curveball because he thinks it's going to hit him in the face every time.
You can just hear his Russian robot brain just malfunction as he's trying to get there. He just can't do it. It's like him trying to hit a tennis ball. He just cannot get there.
Kirk said about Ellie's producer today, or Jared's producer today, you could flick a tic tac through her ear and it'd come out the other side. I swear to God, that's fucking Steve most of the time with just common sense. So,
oh, God. Anything else, Ziggy? Anything else you got?
I got one more Steve one. Well, we didn't really talk about the lawsuit or the Curtatone Supreme Court case. So that was a fun experience, kind of like following it along with other Minifans, and then listening to the podcast and getting their reaction, which was like they were making a lot of the same jokes people were making on Twitter. But I think Mike really shined there. Like he said something about what was it? He made a joke about Kelleher, which was like a really good callback. Like, remember, Mr. Kelleher, you're under oath or something.
That's
so
right.
Mike, that was a good moment from Mike. But afterwards, they were trying to get Lenny Keston on the phone. And Steve texts him, "Hey Lenny, do you want to do a post-game interview with Kirk?" The whole point is to blindside him, so he doesn't know who he's coming on the phone with.
Right.
He just does not get it. Just
he can't get
best
there.
producer in the biz, yeah.
and his argument was fucking terrible. I mean, holy shit, the justices were like, well, then we have to redefine the whole law. And he's like, well, that's how we see it. And then I can't remember what judge is like, well, yeah, obviously that's how you see it. But I mean, his argument was so fucking bad.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, what an interesting show to watch as we're watching the court proceedings live, and then to go back and listen to that show and hear the same jokes, like you said, Ziggy. Like, what other fucking show are you gonna get that from, where you're getting that kind of interaction? It's almost, and if Steve and Mike actually didn't mute all of the Minifans, they would have been able to participate too, because Kirk is able to see what all the Minifans are tweeting about. Like, it was such a funny morning to have that go on with the pictures and the jokes, the memes that are going along with it. Like, it was just an awesome day to have that, which you wouldn't have had anywhere else with those guys. So it was very good. And like you said, Mike was very good on that, to the point where, like, this past Wednesday where they were reacting to some Fitzy sound and Kirk was doing a good job with it, but he can't without
they
Mike
gotta
in the
save
room.
those. They gotta save those for when Mike's in.
You got to have Mike there with it. That's absolutely right. So
yeah, I agree. The other last thing was we did finally get the answer if Kirk has Asperger's, which was yes.
Yeah.
A quick yes without a beat.
yeah.
Sure. Do you have Asperger's? Yes.
Yes.
I mean, that golf stuff was next level. Like, I don't know if we've seen him go to that gear before.
I mean, the
like
most
random Ryder Cup.
random fucking year.
Not just the outcomes, but like the margin of the difference in the matches, and that was next level.
How do you keep all that in there? It's insane.
Well,
it doesn't. I guess it does bring him value, right? Because here he is and what he's doing and the money he's making and everything else. But God damn, that's so weird to be able to hold on to that stuff.
We already have the answer. He said he has Asperger's.
It's really the only answer at this point.
Steve, I don't want to take a call right now.
Okay.
Outside this tiny chapel in Kansas,
Leave Bruce out of this, okay?
all are more than welcome.
He's not drunk, goddammit. He was not drunk.
Here in the middle. It's no secret.
This is absurd. This is not.
Place to get
Bruce, I've been trying to get this guy on my entire life, and this is how I talk to him?
between red and blue.
Bruce!
Servant and citizen. Between our freedom and our fear. Now, fear has never
He had
been
one
the best.
shot of tequila. He would not be this drunk. This is ridiculous.
We
He is
are.
old.
He
is old.
All right, it's the after show where we get into everything that goes inside, and this week is Hall of Fame Minifan Backlash. The cunts of the cunts, man. Everybody bitching about everything that they weren't on a ballot, or this guy and this and that with the ballot. And I'll tell you this, I love ballot talk. What I fucking hate about ballot talkers is when they tell you that somebody should be on a ballot, but they don't tell you who should be coming off a ballot. Nothing bothers me more when you talk about all-star games and this and that. These fucking motherfuckers, they want to have this person and this person. Pretty soon the Hall of Fame ballot's up to like 40 fucking people. That and those people should not be on the ballot. So I want to address first, right off the top, we're going to talk about Visionless Dave. We're going to talk about the controversy that went into on Monday's show in particular. Blind Mike brought it up. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about some other guys too. So from my perspective, when it comes to Visionless Dave, when we had the Hall of Fame ballot talk, I honestly just forgot about talking about him. Like, and you could say what you want about that. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Forgot about him. Now, probably the reason I forgot about him is because for 2 months, he hasn't been tweeting about the show. He hasn't been calling in. I just never thought about him for a Hall of Fame ballot talk because he's been a cup of coffee guy. So that is what it is. You want to call me an asshole, cunt, don't care. But that's why I didn't bring him up. But it wasn't something that we had talked about or we were going to purposely do or whatever the fuck else. So I wanted to say that right off the top. Ziggy, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think we all like collect. Well, first off, just to give a peek inside into our process, we didn't discuss our ballots with each other beforehand because we wanted to save it for the show, right, Red?
Right, save it for the show.
So we saved it for the show, and I mean, maybe that was a mistake in the sense that you could say we miss people because, and I only say that because there was backlash. Like there was clearly people that say we miss people, like VD, like Drunk Greg Hill, like others, right? With VD, same thing with me. It just didn't cross my mind. He wasn't on my initial list that I then pared down. I think we should have had the discussion because he's in the discussion, maybe borderline. But anyone that knows me knows I care about the potential backlash I might face when saying something. And I'm an overanalyzer. If it had even crossed my mind to not leave him on the ballot, I would have thought, okay, what are people going to think about me leaving him off? They're obviously going to be mad, say we're biased. It just didn't even cross my mind. It's clearly bad optics, but it was just, the three of us collectively didn't think he deserved to be there, so we didn't have him up. We didn't have the discussion. It wasn't like we went through 40, like you said, or 50 or whatever, and then give honorable mentions. We didn't do that. We just gave our 20, and that was it. So yeah, I mean, there was no controversy. There was no bias in that sense. And yeah, I mean, if DMing Mike about it, some people are an agent of chaos. Some people are an agent of chaos, and they get away with it. So yeah, I guess that's all. That's what I'll say about that.
Go ahead, Sheldon.
I honestly, my list was my list, and I assumed there was going to be backlash. I didn't expect to be getting bombarded with fucking DMs from bitter people about being left off a fucking Minifan Hall of Fame ballot. And so
you didn't expect that? You didn't think that would happen?
I didn't know I was going to be like, oh, I'm so disappointed in you. This and that. Like, how wasn't I not mentioned? Blah, 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 blah. And then fucking record a video of unfollowing me because you're so mad. Oh my God, cry me a fucking river. Holy shit, dude. You've been around for less than a fucking year, or maybe you're don't give a fuck. If I would have thought you were going to be on the ballot, I would have put you on the ballot. But guess what? You weren't here. Same goes to you, John Stewart. You don't have to be a petty bitch about it.
Oh boy, here we go.
If you fucking see this, I don't give a shit. But my God, you haven't been around for fucking months. When's the last time you called in? The last time you called in was to fucking Mutt and was to Mike. You never called into the Kirk Minahan show, and then to be all fucking butthurt about, Oh my God, where's TJ Hubbard's KMS tweets? Nah. Holy shit, dude. If you were that fucking relevant, if we found you that interesting, if you were that memorable, guess what? You would be on the fucking ballot. I thought of anonymous list guy before you. Holy shit.
That's not helping your
I
argument.
didn't even fucking think of you, Jon Stewart.
Oh,
I
so
don't give a shit. I mean, holy shit. This is a goddamn Minifan Hall of Fame ballot that we put together, and all there is bitching and whining. Oh my God. Fucking guess what? Try harder next year. Holy shit. I
You
mean,
do Mayo- you do Mayo
when I
next-
get upset, I don't fucking run to Blind Mike and be like, can you believe they didn't talk about me on the Hall of Fame ballot? My God, and fucking Mayo. Holy shit.
pace yourself, Sheldon. Oh my God, keep going.
Fucking Andy Mayo. Oh my God. Are you going to die if you're not on this ballot? I mean, sometimes I like you, sometimes I don't. I really fucking hated you after that night because I mean, I thought you might actually die. I mean, because you weren't on this goddamn ballot. And then, I mean, so, oh, fuck this. You don't know anything. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, holy shit. Fucking get a goddamn life, Mayo. Oh.
BA, please, BA.
Holy, yeah, do you want to, yeah, take a swig. While you're taking a swig, can I just say that for Jon Stewart, who, again, called in last year to the show at some point, and fuck you, Ziggy, you're not getting off on this either. Like, you're not getting, like, you and Kirk are the only two people I ever heard talk about Jon Stewart. I don't know why he comes up all the time. He doesn't call into the show. He calls into Blind Mike's show more often. He doesn't tweet about the show until it was when the Hall of Fame ballot stuff was coming up. And then, you know, lo and behold, he started tweeting about the show a little bit. So, Ziggy, I need to know, really, what the fuck has Jon Stewart ever done that you would want to nominate him for the ballot?
Why did you put him on the ballot? Just, you know, you're honest.
What has he ever done?
I thought I said this on the show, but I guess I didn't. I've been pretty transparent. I put him on my ballot because Kirk said that day he should be on the ballot. And when I made my ballot, I thought, okay, who are the voters? Who would they want on the ballot? And obviously Kirk's vote is more important than any of the other voters. So I think if he's saying someone should be on the ballot, I put him on the ballot. But I also
his vote matters as much as the other people who are voting.
Does it though? I don't know. Probably not.
I mean, he could at any point just rip up the ballot. So that's
don't see
probably a little bit more.
He's going to do it anyway. It's February. I mean, we have until May.
I could see why Mayo would be upset with you, Sheldon, because you closed the gate on him. But I support you in that because Mayo is a career, well, at least last year, an underachiever. So he underachieved. His ceiling is the roof, and he didn't get there. So he's got to do better this year. And that's the same thing for Jon Stewart. Like, just be better. Like, take the coaching points that we gave you and then apply it to now. So, like, they took calls all week this week. I didn't hear Mayo call in one time. And, you know, BA wants to bitch, okay? And I heard this. A wise man said this, that BA bitched, and he sounded just like the OGs that were bitching when they made those brackets. He sounded just like a butthurt OG. So
mad from Providence.
Yeah, he sounded just like Mad from Providence. So if you are mad, call into the fucking show and talk about it. Don't just sit there and sit on Twitter. You know, pick up your balls and pick up the call and call those fuckers in, man, and do it and talk about it. But you can't do that. So BA bitched a lot this past week. He was very angry at Ziggy. I mean, Ziggy had a terrible argument for BA out, but I mean, I don't know if you want to, relitigate that at all. Ziggy.
No, I don't. But I mean, I said if I had the choice, I would have probably, or if I had a redo, I would have put him over Will because they were both in the same camp of whatever, not listening. But other than that, yeah, I had the perfect ballot. Kirk liked my ballot the best. I just know that for a fact.
No, you don't know that for a fact.
Well, I know he wouldn't have liked either of yours. So
bullshit. He loves the list guy. Ask him.
If Mayo made the ballot and if BA made the ballot, who would they have been replaced with? Like Riccio and Cynthia Dill, maybe?
Absolutely. Riccio would have been the next one, I think, for Mayo, for sure.
Next man up,
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of that was I enjoyed, but I know you guys, I was getting a lot of love and a lot of praise. So I feel like my ballot was actually the perfect ballot, but I might also just have
our ballot was the perfect
our ballot, the perfect ballot, the ballot we submitted to Kirk was the perfect ballot. I stand by that. Now I will say it feels like maybe John from Scranton, maybe Sheldon, you might be getting a little frustrated with John from Scranton and GVE. Is that a fair assessment? Is that something I can say?
I just don't get it. I mean,
okay.
You can't. Oh my God. I mean, you can. I thought John from Scranton should have been on the ballot. Okay. I didn't think that right away. And then when we went through it, I thought he should be on the ballot. And now they took him off. But you can't go and say that you should be on the ballot, and then in the next show you're on, say you shouldn't be on the ballot, and then go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Pick a lane and stay in it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's zigging and zagging a little bit is what he's been doing.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I thought sometimes he's being thrown off the ballot in stride, sometimes not so much, but I mean, that's human emotions, kind of like some people who hardly contribute anything being the biggest whiniest bitches about not being on it, but I won't mention any names.
You got anything on that, Ziggy? You got anything to add?
I want to know these names, but no, I don't. I agree with what Sheldon said. Yeah, like you said, human emotions. Ballot talk gets people riled up. It's a good talker.
It's not over, buddy. I mean, there'll be other years. I mean, just keep it up. Don't fucking DM me. Tell me that I'm terrible and all this and that. I mean, it's okay. Just get a paper bag, breathe into it.
It sounds like you made a lot of enemies over this ballot.
Sheldon's not used to not being liked.
I know. You're usually beloved. You went from being beloved, now you're a lib and everybody hates you.
I'm a fucking drip and a lib.
I don't know what happened.
Christ. I mean, I don't know what the fuck is going on here.
Sorry, buddy. Maybe that's you too close to me. I don't know. I don't know what happened to you. I'm sorry, man. Ricochets. Anything else from the Minifan backlash for the Hall of Fame talk? Anything else? I know we want to talk about Dale Williams too, probably in there as well. But anything from the Hall of Fame ballot in particular?
I mean, we didn't really talk about Kevin from Bristol. I don't know what's more to be said there. I don't follow him, so I don't know if he's if he's continuing to dig the hole deeper or what.
It doesn't seem like it because it's not getting shared. Usually, if he's doing that, it's getting shared. We're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, like I said, like we pissed people off. I think we knew we would.
I think that's why Kirk wanted us to do it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree. It was. I'm glad we had that opportunity to piss a lot of people off.
I always enjoy that. That was props to me for allowing Carano on the ballot too, and letting that happen. So I'm a magnanimous motherfucker. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, magnanimous is the word that came to mind.
Yeah. So for VD to think this is somehow personal or petty, that's not how this goes.
You also put Blob on your initial.
I put Blob on there. I mean, goddamn, how good am I? How magnanimous am I? I mean, it's unbelievable what I did for that. I put Blob on there. I put John from Scranton. I had the BA conversation. We had the Rich Kelleher conversation. I mean, this is a team effort, but I really feel like, man, I did a wonderful job.
There was only one true snub to the ballot. I mean, we can, if we want to get back to it, there's only one true snub. I think you both know who that was.
It's certainly not you, Ziggy. If that's what
it's certainly
it's not you. You're not eligible next year. That's what I said. Tell me.
I'm just kidding.
So next year, Sheldon and I will decide, and we'll have somebody else in there.
Blind Mike's daddy can take my spot.
Yeah, Jesus
Christ. I'll go in 2041 with Chris Visiting Nurse from Rhode Island.
Do you want to apologize to the Sopranos guy? Because I feel like Steve Robinson came at Sopranos guy, but then also Ziggy.
That hurt.
Ziggy, you were coming for Sopranos guy in there.
It hurt to be put in the same boat as Steve.
Yeah, that's twice this episode you've been on the same boat as Steve.
Yep. Yeah, we buried the hatchet. I think we're good. I think he knows that I love him. I've always loved him. I've been a day one supporter. It's a 20 is tough. It's a tough thing to to finalize that list and know that you're going to upset some people. But I took it seriously. You guys didn't. So
from what you could tell this week, who are going to be the 3 favorites? Right?
Wait a second. He said he took it seriously, even though he put himself on the ballot.
Until the very end.
When Kirk said that we couldn't put ourselves on the ballot.
Until the very, I felt bad.
And then you gave us a hard time. You gave us a hard time for not putting Mayo on there when you could have put Mayo on there, but you decided to use your last vote for you.
Because I couldn't have put Mayo on there. I do feel bad. I don't remember who it was, but someone said once they heard me nominate myself, they checked out of the show. Yeah. I felt bad because the best part of the show was us like fighting afterwards and the later part of the ballot talk. I don't remember what your question was, but yeah.
And by the way, too, you are a shitty teammate too. I got to say that I was so mad at you for asking me. If you go later on in that show where you're asking me the Corona question and you're trying to like get me on something,
I got you so good there.
And then you ask me a Corona question, and then I'm going to answer your Corona question, and you keep fucking interrupting me. What an asshole you are!
If I remember right, they were rhetorical questions. It was the answer I was at. The question I was asking, I was expecting the answer to then set up my next point. So you weren't letting me get to my next point.
Sure.
That's what it was.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Anything else from Hall of Fame, Sheldon? You're on a roll.
No, I'm done talking about it.
So, whatever, John. And see you later.
Oh, you asked who the 3 will be. I think it'll only be 2 of them because, with only having 3, if they're only going with 3 votes each, there's just so much variance. Like if someone's going to throw a drunk Greg Hill, someone not even on the ballot. So I think it's going to be Tim from Canton will be a lock.
He's a lock.
I think Steve from Providence will not get some votes from certain people. Like I don't think Mike will vote for him. And Mutt's up in the air because they have history there.
That's true.
So that's 2 out of the 9 that might not.
I'm going to say this. This isn't bold or anything else. I don't think Steve from Providence is making it to the voting selection. I think he's going to get kicked off the ballot. I think next week he'll be kicked off. That man pushes everybody away. That's why he's a lonely. He only sees his kids every other weekend. He's a lonely human being. He pushes everybody out of his life that he loves. He's going to get himself taken off of this ballot, guaranteed.
It's hereditary. He learned it from his mother.
And one of his fathers.
Facts.
Thoughts on Dale Williams? I mean, is he gonna hold on to his golden ticket, or what is he gonna do here? Sheldon, you seem to know him pretty well. I mean, I DM with him. I feel like I know him pretty well, but
I have no idea what the hell he's doing now. I mean,
Is he supposed to give this thing up? I don't understand. Like, how much money did he spend on this?
Like $1,000, I think. Yeah, I saw it was 1,000.
Like 1,200, yeah.
How is he going to give that up? He shouldn't give that. He spent $1,000 on this.
I don't think he will. I think it'll blow over. I think it's already blown over. But he put out that tweet last night after they started recording. I think if he put that out before they started recording, and if Kirk had seen it like as he went into studio, he might not even be alive right now, Dale Williams. Like, I think he'd be totally gone from the Miniverse, because that might have set Kirk off. But I think he timed it right, where he put that joking tweet out afterwards, after Kirk had gotten everything off his chest. I think he'll be fine. He is it's tough to get a read on him, but he's new to the world. It's just, he's a nice guy, and I think he'll be fine. I think as long as he lays low, maybe a little bit, he'll be fine.
I think it'll blow over. I mean, he seems like a good guy. He's military. Veterans fucking win. I mean, I think it'll blow over as long as he doesn't go Steve from Providence on us and try and, go scorched earth. Who knows?
Any drama, any inside stuff, anything from the last 2 weeks that we're missing other than Hall of Fame stuff? Anything else?
The Chris visiting nurse from Rhode Island call. I mean, yes. Everyone knows his voice except for apparently Steve, which I've yet to fucking figure out how you don't know it's him. He almost got it until Kirk's like, wait a second, who's this? But he almost had it through, almost, because Steve had no fucking clue, because, he's not the producer of the Kirk Minahan show or anything. He doesn't know. But that was a great call, and there was actually a lot of good calls this week.
There were a lot of good calls, and we're going to end this show with the call that I love the most, and I want to say props to Ziggy and Gig for helping out with the artwork on that too. Yes, Sean.
I mean, that was a great call, but Drunk Bruce today,
That was good. Yeah.
when he called it, I just kept talking, and
It was so
Kirk
simple.
it was so simple, but Kirk was yelling at him and then talking to Jared, and he just kept going and going and going until it was over, and then he hung up.
Any comments on one of your heroes, Ziggy, Bruce Springsteen, and his drunk escapades? Do you have anything to say?
Kirk was right. It was a frame job from the beginning.
If you were going to guess what kind of pills they were, what kind of pills?
I know you have a lot of puns you want to get off your chest, Fred. So I will just let you go.
Well, I mean, I've got a couple. I do have a list. I've done a little bit. I don't want to give up too much of my. I want to get like maybe a couple of your opinions on this, Ziggy. Please be honest. Don't no sell this fucking thing. Okay, give me like how good of a song name would be Brucey Needs a Shooter. That's pretty good, isn't it?
It's a little forced.
I don't think that's forced. What about there's a couple of, this one, Margarita, Come Out Tonight. Come on.
Brucey Needs a Shooter is a little better because it's a little more apt to what actually happened.
That one's really good. Or I'm on Fire Ball. I'm on Fireball. Come on. Those are great jokes. You can do that all day with Bruce.
There's a lot. There's a lot out there. There's a lot
out there. So I hate to see it. I'm a big Bruce fan. But you gotta have fun with this. You gotta be able to laugh at our heroes, right? So it is what it is. All right. Anything else?
Heroes?
Well, just real quick, it's important to note. Tim from Canton is setting up the KMS trivia.
Yes.
Ed and I will be on a team with someone else not named Sheldon because Sheldon stabbed us in the back.
Yeah, Sheldon. So when this was announced, when this was first announced, he was announcing it as 3-man teams. And so when he announced a 3-man team and you're on a 3-man show, at no point did it cross your mind to ask Ziggy and I to be on your team?
In my defense, I wasn't listening when he announced it. And then somebody else heard it and then asked me, and I totally didn't think of it. So
okay, so when that person asked you to be on their team and it was going to be that person and another person, and then you realized it was a 3-man show, you didn't want to say, well, wait a minute, let me check with Red and Ziggy to see if at no point.
I have no excuse.
Well, we are going to crush you.
Who's your third?
Team I Talk You Talk is going to crush you. I don't know if we want to announce who our third is.
We don't want to.
But I Talk You Talk. I don't know what your team name is. We already have a better team name. So it's on like Donkey Kong. But Sheldon, you do owe us. So you're going to be our call. If we have to do a phone a friend, you're going to have to help us out.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right.
I already apologized for this many times. I'm not doing it anymore.
I'm going to have to do a lot of spin zoning once I don't do well in trivia after everything I said about Steve not being intellectual because he doesn't do well at trivia. So I got to get those excuses ready.
Oh, what? And by the way, just to give the full behind the scenes, Ziggy, what was your thing about trivia and how you're not good at it? Like,
I'm the initial answer isn't there in my brain. I can't.
Oh
get
my
it right
God.
away. But if I hear the right answer, like, oh, is it this or this? I know it. So I'm a really good team player. Like, that's the one. That's the answer.
Okay, so that's the third thing you're like Steve with today. Got it.
So Sheldon, just keep that in mind when he was asking me to be on Drinking Buddies. Ziggy was asking me to be on Drinking Buddies, and he's not even good at trivia. So I would just been hammered the entire time, and he at no point was going to tell me that before we were going into a game. So
that sounds about right.
That's Ziggy.
Yeah,
I would lead the league. I would lead the league in. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That sounds right.
Hello. Hey, is this the Kurt Menahan show? This is longtime fan John Amos calling.
Well, Mr. Amos, I'm a big fan of yours from Good Times.
Roll of the dice.
And some
remember it is February.
Roots, and that's true. And many things. You were just
that's right.
You were just in whatchamacallit briefly last year. I cut gems.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yes, hello.
You are correct, sir. You are correct. The times have been good for me. The times have been good for me. And I can see they've been good for you, my brother. You know, I just recently got on and I
COJ
saw
and he's
that
scared.
that you happen to be African American yourself.
Well, I mean, there have been rumors that Moss Dudley is my birth father. I do not think that's true. Just to be fair, Mr. Amos, I would never. I'm not like Elizabeth Warren. I'm not going to steal some identity. I don't think that's the case, sir.
Oh, well, you in the club, because as long as you got that big fat-ass Italian broad sitting next to you, I love the titties on that
No, that's a man.
My goodness.
No, that's a man. Are you talking about Mike
Ain't
Geary?
no way, that's a man right there. I ain't seen an ass on a bitch like that since Florida ever.
Oh,
well, I don't.
And let me tell you,
flattered, to be honest.
Since you're saying that Mike, when you look at Mike's ass, you think of the late actress Esther Roll, your wife on Good Times.
Yes.
oh, absolutely. Oh, Lord
Put a
have
figure on
mercy. And another thing.
Have to update this Hall of Fame
a
ballot.
piece of tail like that you got walking around there, I know you have black. Because them hips don't lie. All that jelly and no toast. Ooh, my goodness. You know I love that Italian cooking, baby. It was once me and Eric LaSalle in Eric LaSalle's dressing room on the set of Coming to
America, sure.
And Eric got in there. He's got wall-to-wall purple crushed velvet. Let me tell you, it was decked out. And he's getting blown by a girl that when I say she could be no older than 17.
Wait a minute.
I mean,
Wait. Hold on.
It was a different time.
John.
Hollywood was crazy.
I am saying the actor Eric LaSalle from ER was that did not happen, John. That did not happen.
Like hell it didn't.
No, John.
Who walks through the door is my man Samuel L. Jackson with an 8-ball of coke.
None of these things happened, John. Now you've had quite a colorful career and you're a great storyteller, but these things did not happen, right?
You don't have any proof of that.
You're just playing along, right? You're joking around.
Oh, this is the 80s, baby. That was a PG night.
John,
that was just a PG night. You should have seen Arsenio Hall's dressing room.
No, I
looked like a Jackson Pollock painting went off in there.
I don't think
wall semen.
Well, I don't think that's true. That may be true, but I don't see proof of that.
It sounds like a fun time.
Hey, I ain't got to have no proof. But I just wanted to say that I'm a huge fan of this show.
Oh, thank you.
I got to get back. I got a little something going on here in my own private abode, if you know what I'm saying. I just want to say I'm a huge fan of the show, and as long as that big titty Italian girl is always on the show, you can count on me.
Well,
he won since day one, baby.
Thank you, John Amos.
And a Baba Booey to you.
That was